The pressure continues to mount as United drop more points to relegation battling Leeds. Let's break it down. It was a draw. Manchester United dropping draws.
It was a 1-1 performance at Elland Road against frisky Leeds. But at the end of the day, this is the team United should have been trouncing, even with the absentees. It wasn't terrible. We've seen terrible performances from United, but it was lacking that cutting edge in the front. I think Shesko should have had a goal or two. I think we got a goal disallowed that shouldn't have gone against us. But at the end of the day, we're still playing down to opponents once again, finding ways to lose opportunities to march up the table. It's asking to be marched up, sir. That table is just waiting for us to climb up those rungs, and somehow we have found a way to never make any progress unless someone else does it for us. And here we are looking down another point from a team who's in the relegation zone.
Yep, top four continues to stay at an appropriate distance away from this club. It was Elland Road. It's a tough place to play, and ultimately the team is decimated with injuries. We do have players away at AFCON. There are no excuses. You need to play like a champion at Manchester United, and if this was just a one-off, you'd be fine with it, but it's consistent. The Bournemouth draw, you're talking about West Ham, you're talking about Wolves, now you're talking about Leeds away. In that context, it's not looking great for this manager and these players. He has to do more to get more out of the team, and he has the talent to do it, in my opinion, and we haven't seen good tactics, the formation trolling, but really the news is what happened before the game. It was a spicy presser. After the game, smacking the table, leaving, back me, sack me. That's sort of the summary, if you will. Amorim really dialing up against the front office. There's infighting at Manchester United. The results in the pitch aren't good, and we're on to the next manager in 18 months, apparently, from Ruben Amorim. How are we feeling about that?
I don't think it's going to be 18 months. We'll see about that. But the real thing is, like you said, it's not even talking about the result. We're not even talking about the point away, which is like, all things considered, not terrible. It's about the storyline before the game. It's about the storyline after the game. And it's about even the storyline of him switching formations once again in the game, 3 at the back, 4 at the back, looking good at the 4 at the back. That's when we scored the goal. And this manager being so damn stubborn that he's making box office news off the pitch. That's the last thing you want when you're talking about the performances in the press box. This has happened with Amorim, his countryman, Jose Mourinho, towards the end of his tenure. It happened with Erik ten Hag towards the end of his tenure. When you're talking about the press conferences and not the game, that's not where you want to be.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify. Please check it out, and let's get into this match proper and break it down. It was Leeds versus Manchester United, 1-1 at Elland Road, dropping critical points. The lineup for Manchester United, Sen Lamens in net. We had Martinez, Heaven, Euro back line with Luke Shaw, left wing back, Ugarte Casemiro, Delo right wing back, Dogu getting pushed up into the right wing, which he did well against Newcastle, and he comes back in. Kuna and Shesko up top. Sir, what'd you make of this 11?
Oh, our manager just can't quit that back three, Kenny. I was hoping to see Dogu playing more advanced in a real 4-3-3 like we did see under Newcastle. That was not the case. We see a reversion to the back three with 3 proper center backs in Martinez, Heaven, and Euro in the low right wing back shot. So I wasn't happy about that. I thought maybe it was switch during the game. He did switch in the second half at least. So I was frustrated, but not surprised, I guess, is the real storyline, because why would we be surprised this manager would revert to that back three? I don't know what your thoughts were on that 11.
Sir, let's get into the match.
Let's get into it. United, not great, but they were comfortable for much of the match. And I think they were missing quality and a cutting edge. In the 7th minute, United did score. Cunha scored. He was probably our biggest attacking threat throughout the match. He obviously got his goal in the second half, but he could have had a goal in the 7th minute. He scored from a volley, but it was called offside in the build-up. I wasn't so sure about this one. I guess they were saying that Shesko was involved, but he didn't seem to really get a touch on it. He was kind of off, but curious for me. Anyway, more chances coming late in that first half. Dangerous cross from Leeds, Calvert-Lewin. He had a header hit the post. That was their big chance of that first half. And then
eye for an eye,
Exactly. And then 40th minute, Euro had a header that was well saved from a corner. Probably could have done a little bit better, but he did force the keeper in. So United, we're cagey. The game was cagey. We were control. They had that one chance late, but we weren't that dangerous. We weren't that exciting, but it was reasonable. Reasonable headed into halftime. Second half, more the same, and I think we had a little bit of an even better ability to get the Slovenian, get Benjamin Shesko involved, although I thought he was great in the build-up. I thought his link-up play was very good. His finishing was not on today. In the 54th minute, he had a great chance, crossed in from Casemiro. He was off anyway, but his finish let him down. And then 62nd minute, Aiden Heaven coming up with a big error for someone who's been shining.
Delo lost the ball here.
He did.
Heaven
Delo.
caught
him making errors? No way.
Snoozing. All right, here we go. Brandon Harrison Hopefully score some goals this summer in the US of A.
Be a bad point for Leeds United. Starting the unbeaten streak to 7. Aronson hoping to do more. He's in! Brendan Aronson lights the touch paper. Elland Road erupts. It's Leeds.
We all hate Leeds scum. Aronson, good finish. This is a little bit of a snooze fest for Manchester United. Got to be switched on. Got to be better than that.
No, we've seen this United side give up goals like this before, where individual mistakes, like you said, Delo, bad giveaway, and then Heaven sleeping. He has the pace to get there ahead of Aronson. Aronson is on point, ready to go. Fortunately, United answered right back as soon as they got possession back. 65th minute, Matías Kuna gets his goal.
Xerxy. Kuna making a run ahead of him. Kuna is in, and it is in. 1-1.
What a substitution. Yeah, I mean, this is what...
Look, Xerxy with a great ball in, sub that changed the game from the manager, and Kuna gets his goal. Great finish.
Great finish from Kuna. Nice ball from Xerxy. It was also like they switched the formation to the 4 at the back. But let's get into it. There was some action late in that second half as both teams pushed for a winner. Great save from Lemens in the 70th minute from a corner to keep the game square. 74th minute, good chance for Shesko. Slices it. Probably should hit the target. It was nice cut in play, I think, from Luke Shaw. And then 80th minute, Kuna hit the post with a first-time shot. And that was all she wrote. 1-1 at Elland Road. Sharing of the points. Tough place to play. Tough with the opponents. I mean, obviously with the missing players from United between AFCON and the injuries. But I think the big takeaway is like United should have done more to create more chances and to take better advantage of those chances. So that's what's frustrating. Opportunity to win 3 points, but we looked a little casual, especially in the first half. We didn't really kind of press the issue until the second half.
Yeah, look, and credit to Amorim for the Xerxy change in the second half. That did change it, and he made a great instant impact, great pass. But ultimately, Shesko should do better. He's getting some criticism. Look, you can't kill the guy first year. I give people a full year coming into the EPL. He has the talent, right? He's got the raw ability. I feel like his finish is letting him down, like you said. So I'm not going to kill him, but you should get a higher ROI for that level and that price tag that we paid. Looking at the stat line, United 13 shots to Leeds 9, on target 2 to their 3, possession 56% of the ball to their 44%. So we did have more of the ball at Elland Road. We also bested them on XG, 2.13 for United to 0.88 for Leeds. But you look at the field tilt, Leeds pushing on United 57% to United's 43%. They also had an overall aggressiveness in their style of play, like it was a derby, like it was a rivalry game. Kind of rattled United where they were breaking up play all over the pitch, and our quality really couldn't overcome it to create enough chances. And I feel like United, 2 shots on target, that's not good enough. It is away. It is hard. We're grading on a curve here. And look, the manager... he had a hell of a presser. We're going to get into some of it now, and then we're going to get into more of it later in the podcast when he storms off. But let's listen to the beginning of the post-match presser. I also note the pre-match presser. He's coming up guns blazing.
I think we did well. We improved a lot of things that compared to the last game. We controlled quite well the aggressivity of the offensive from Leeds. We controlled well 1-against-1. A really good environment, a really fun environment, and they did well. We controlled more the possession, the connection, the position of the players. I think they were in the better positions to play, and that can show in the way we played. We had more chances than the opponent to score, but we need to now to think about the next one.
In terms of Joshua Xerxy and Lusa's good assistant goal, how important will that be both to them, especially with the craze you have had?
It's really important. I think Ben improved in the connection today. Josh, the 20 minutes that he played, he was active. He was creating chances, creating spaces for us. So it's important. Also, Manu played better today and helped the team also to create chances. Was better than the last week.
Look, pretty composed for the manager. It is a draw against Leeds. They are in good form, but taking this in broader context of the results for Manchester United, I'm not thrilled. We're dropping points to teams where we need to be getting 3. If you look at the table, We're hanging on to relevance as far as European football. And when you're playing easy sides and dropping points, newsflash, the Cities, the Arsenals are right around the corner, and you're not going to be able to continue to drop points. And if you do, then you're going to see a lot of daylight between you and that money that this club desperately needs in European football. So I feel like it's all good now, but the hard games are coming, and the real test is coming for Manchester United.
No, absolutely. And it's all relative, right? This is not, tying Wolves at home, a team that hadn't won a game up to that point. But let's keep things into context. Leeds played 2 days earlier. They played on Thursday. We played on Tuesday. So they're coming off less rest than we are. You created over 2 XG, and you only had 2 shots on target. That's not good enough. You talk about clinicality in this team. You needed a lot more of it. Shesko is a player, but at the same time, there should be another number 9 ready to go, probably like Calvert-Lewin, who can come in and take some of the pressure off that young lad as he steps up into this new league. And then at the same time, this manager piling on pressure as it relates to press conferences that just go awry.
Well, we'll get into that a little later. We're going to get into the real clip of the podcast here soon. But first, we have a Burnley the Builders tight turnaround Burnley preview. We are playing them Wednesday, January 7th, 12:15 Pacific, 3:15 Eastern. Manchester United coming into the table at 6th with
Still
31 points, 20 played. Chelsea is tied with us on 31. The difference is they have fired their manager for not being good enough, or some sort of dispute with Todd Bowley. But regardless, I think Amorim needs to win 30 games in a row to equal Maresca's win total for Chelsea, and he was sacked. Not saying Chelsea is the model that we need to go into, but Burnley are doing much worse. They are 19th place with 12 points.
Trap game.
We're going to Turf Moor, a.k.a. Turf Moor Door, sir. We know it here on the pod. Burnley, what are they going to do? They're going to sit back. They're going to work hard. But first, give me the weather.
It's funny. Sometimes the weather is a non-issue. This weather is going to be a somewhat of an issue. It is going to be proper Turf Moor Door weather, freezing rain, just over freezing, like 34 degrees and sleeting. So that, is going to be a tough environment to play in. Exactly. Against a tough team that's tough to play at. They're fighting for their life. They're not Wolves. It's not done and dusted. Their relegation fate has not been set in stone. They still have a chance to kind of cling their way up, so they're going to try and take this opportunity to get after United, who has a tendency to drop points in winnable positions. So that sounds like Burnley. So they're Lancashire's Clarets. Tell me about them.
A little history of Burnley, the Builders. They're not known as that, but we call them that on the podcast for fun. Like we said, played at Turf Moor, and that has been the home stadium since 1883. It's the second oldest continuously used ground in English pro football. Number 1 would be the Deep Dale at Preston North End. We have been there. But, steeped in rich history. They were a founding member of the Football League in 1888, and they started as Burnley Rovers Rugby Club in 1881, but ditched rugby for football in 1882 after seeing the growth of the new game. I do like that. They just hard pivot in 1881, and here we are in 2026, sir.
They must have been some really big rugby guys that were not thrilled about that change, I don't know where they went afterwards, but they got a manager. They got a 45-year-old English manager. We know Scott Parker well. He took over in July of 2024 and immediately rebuilt Burnley into a promotion machine after their manager went to Bayern Munich, hilariously slow, and earned a return in his first season to the EPL. His whole thing was built on control and defensive stings, so they went up. Long unbeaten run in the leagues and one of the best goals conceded records in the division last year in the championship. Style of play, he's very pragmatic first, defensive foundation. He likes to have compact distances and a willingness to win ugly when the game demands it. Oh, I wish I had a little bit of that. Usual formation is a back four with a double pivot, protecting the center and wide players, asked to track, duel, and spring forward on turnovers. And then in possession, they favor direct progressiveness into the striker and wide channels, quick combos, early delivery, second ball pressure. Set pieces matter, of course, as they would for any team coming up for the championship. So for United, it's all going to be about matching the intensity of Burnley, not having to turn into a scrap fest in the midfield, trying to get through their first or second line of press, and we can get behind them. But if it turns into a midfield scrap, that's exactly where United don't want to be. But given the context, given the fact we're playing a Turf Moor in the rain, I think that's exactly where we're going to end up. It's going to be a midfield scrap. Would love to see an extra midfielder and start with a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, whatever, but I know this manager, and he's a stubborn SOB, so what's he going to do? He's going to stick with a 3 at the back.
On a tight turnaround, they're going to have an extra day of rest. I feel like they're going to look how Leeds did and think they can get at us. I think Manchester United is a team that lower level teams think that they can get results or a point from. We haven't lost to them since 2020, only one loss since 2009. To give you the context, sir, give us our player to watch.
Zion Fleming's a Dutchman. He's an attacking midfielder. He is their most prolific goal scorer this season. He's got 5 in 15 matches, a player to keep an eye on.
The only Dutch player we didn't sign under Erik ten Hag who did well.
Apparently. So he's a player to keep an eye on. Their record recently, they've been up and down. They're a difficult team to break down. They lost 2-0 to Burnley. They lost 3-1 to Newcastle.
They are Burnley.
Excuse me, to Brighton. They are Burnley. They lost to Newcastle. They tied Frisky Everton. They tied Bournemouth. They lost to Fulham. They lost to Newcastle again, and then they lost to Palace. So tight matches. They don't lose by a lot. And they got United on Wednesday. Let's get into their starting 11. They like to pack them in, sir. A lot of players. I think they played a 5 at the back. But you know what? They're fighting for their life. They got Kyle Walker.
5-4-1 that they're going to put 10 men behind the ball. Ask United and our reserves to break them down. That seems about right. Dubravka in net. He features United's number 2. Not too distant memory. Not really worried about anyone else. We gotta worry
terrible.
About Manchester United. The manager still going for 3 at the back. It's Sen Lamens that we played against Leeds. Martinez, Heaven, Euro, Shaw, Ugarte, Casemiro, Delo, Dogu, Cunha, Shesko. For me, there's only one sub, and that was Xerxy. Came on, it looked pretty solid. I think you got to go Xerxy for Dogu. Dogu's pace could be the difference late against Burnley, and I dare say take a defender off and put Dogu up front, even though Dogu is technically a wing back. He's a defender, but he's got the pace, so we don't have limited options. It's not an excuse. You're playing bad teams. You got to win. This is Manchester United.
Win, maybe win. One after another. There's one off. I have to put on Xerxy for Euro. I think Euro is, of the 3 center backs, he's the one to drop out. And I want to see a 4 at the back. I don't think we will see a 4 at the back. I think this manager is going to go out guns blazing and absolutely not willing to take an L. Talking about odds makers, Burnley are the big underdogs at plus 360, plus 290 for the draw, and minus 150 for United. Yikes, I would not be touching that if I was in England right now, or a state that allows gambling.
Big injury boost for United is that we think Bruno is going to potentially back. Mason Mount is potentially back. Limited minutes is what the manager said. So some positive names coming out. If that is the case, you got to start with those lads ahead of the Ugartes and then the Dogus up front. But we shall see what the pre-match presser yields. As far as match predictions, 85% predicted win for Manchester United versus Burnley. Looking at the live prediction game,
I'm up.
Sir, what do you got?
I think it's going to be another draw, another drop points against a poor side. So I'm going to call 1-1 actually for this performance at Turf Mordor. Sir, what do you got?
I'm going to go 3-1 to Manchester United. We win. Bruno comes back.
Bang.
Storm clouds still reign over Old Trafford. The results haven't been bad. Everything else has been bad, and we're going to get into it right now, which is the Ruben Amorim press conference meltdown.
Oh, my God,
The last man who made us watch pre-match pressers and post-match pressers like box office, like they are more important than what was going on the field, was Jose Mourinho. And it's been a long, long time, sir. I don't think we had kids when Mourinho was manager of Manchester United, but it was exhausting. The pre-match embargoed press conference comes out. Oh, no, what did he say? The post-match comes out. Oh, no, what is he saying? And the crazy thing about Amorim is, like, Mourinho was way more... the results were oscillating, like where we go down big and second half comebacks and then lose big, where Amorim seems like consistently mediocre from a results perspective with that 38% win rate, keeps ticking along, drawing poor teams. The bottom has not fallen out. The bottom fell out with Mourinho, but the bottom's falling out in the press conferences, right? Where it's the smart thing right now would be to toe the party line and just say, hey, we're working, we're trying to get better, we're doing this. Injuries, AFCON, yada, yada, yada. That would make his life a little easier. Draw this, that, hey, we need to be better. On to Cincinnati would go a long way right now. If you look at it, tons of players are out. AFCON, we're kind of back against the wall. We don't have options on the bench. And you're getting kind of gutty draws. They're not easy on the eye, but this is the time to sort of keep it simple. And instead, he's like dropping gasoline and lighting a match and going to war with the front office in front of the press. And you know what? This can't be good for business generally for Manchester United Football Club. This is not a good look. This is ultimately a leadership problem. Glazers, INEOS, Barada, Wilcox, you can't have your managers just like getting lippy in the press. It's getting bad, sir. You want to, any comments before we jump into the sort of big tag that he dropped here?
I mean, anytime you're talking about what's happening off the pitch instead of on, you're losing. You know, anytime you're worried about the press conference quotes that are going to be dropped by our manager before a game, you're losing. And like you said, if things just calm down in this regard, I think he'd have a lot more job stability. But he is poking an eye in the face of INEOS, who have made mistakes, but at the same time, he's acting like he's Jose Mourinho, multi-time Champions League winner. He's got a, sub 50% win rate at the biggest club in the world with a lot of winnable matches that have gone against us because of decisions he's made. He's got a lot of... I think he should just take it easy, but he doesn't seem to want to take it easy, sir. He seems to want to fight to the last man.
If the pre-match one, he's just like, you're a smart guy, figure it out.
That's insane, dude.
Like, you know, like, hey, I'm not going to answer that question.
What's with these Portuguese guys? It's not a big country. It's
so for the context, the pre-match presser, he gets asked, like, about his formation. Be like, why did you change it? Are you, like, why did it take you a year to figure out that the 3-4-3 was wrong? He's like, I'm not going to ask that question. I'm not going to answer
He asked him again.
And he asked him again. He said, I'm not going to answer it. And then he says, you're a smart guy. You figure it out.
That's bad.
Which is, he's trying to kind of say, I don't have the players, right? I think ultimately taking a shot upstairs. So I already queued that up for the pod being like, that's the controversy. And then the game goes, not a great game, not pumped about it, didn't like watching it, Leeds as a rival. And then this comes out. I'm like, checking my phone. What is going on at Manchester United? Here we go. Let's go.
The manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach. And every department, the scouting department, the sport director needs to do their job. I will do mine for 18 months and then we move on.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Leading up to this, he also said the same thing. He also said the front office can't listen to Gary Neville. People need to grow up. Taking shots everywhere. Look, this is falling out, and it's falling out fast. Now, if you try to read the tea leaves between now and a week from now, where it's sort of, this is hitting a fever pitch, we were in for Semenyo. Now we lost out on Semenyo, and people are speculating that Amorim's been informed that that money will then not be used to sign somebody else, right?
Which makes sense, knowing United. Knowing this United, you know?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. But to have him then do this in the press, there's more than that going on. We've speculated, clearly INEOS has told him to change the formation, which I think is incorrect from their standpoint. You hired him because he was a certain way. Then you're asking him to change. That's just the antithesis of who he is. If you've learned or researched anything before you hired him, you would know that's not on the table, but apparently they're trying. Wilcox has asked him to be more flexible, and we'll get into that tweet here from Ben Jacobs via Talk Sport. Sources understand there's growing tensions between Amorim and Wilcox. Sources close to Manchester United say Wilcox would like Amorim to be more tactically adaptable, while the Portuguese has also been told bringing in reinforcements this transfer window is unlikely. So tell him to change it, and we're not going to give you any reinforcements. So I believe there are probably two different topics that we should break down. The first one being INEOS telling him to change it. Like, we have to take that off the table because the whole backing thing, that's an INEOS conversation, that's a Glazer conversation, the money being spent, where we are pushing on from Europe. I think it has to be taken in two separate convo. So let's break down the INEOS asking Amorim to change to a back four. What do you think?
I mean, I agree with you at some level. The fact that, hey, you brought this guy on. His whole shtick was that he plays this formation. You have him come in. You ask a leopard, change his spots, change his stripes. You know, it's like it seems antithetical to what you signed up for in the first place. That being said, we are where we are. He gave it a go. He tried with this formation. It's not working in the EPL. It's not working with the players available. There is a certain point where you think he would just get himself to the same conclusion that we are a better side with a back four. We've seen it, glimpses, Newcastle, parts of today's match, where it makes more sense for this team. I think the players are more comfortable. So it's like you brought this guy in to play a certain way. You throw that out the window, but at the same time, maybe you just do an interim and just get him to play forward to stabilize the ship. This press conference is him asking to be sacked. That's what it's like. In the same way Jose Mourinho was asking to be sacked with his very inflammatory comments about United not being a big club in Europe and certain things about the management not supporting him, et cetera, et cetera. He's looking to get sacked. Maresca looked to get sacked. He got sacked. And I think Amorim now is looking to be sacked because he's looking to be sacked. He's not changing the formation. He's coming under criticism there. This whole thing's a mess. It's basically a 5-alarm fire. Front office looks like a mess. The Amorim looks like kind of like a child, and we're caught in the middle as United fans, just being like, where do we go from here?
Well, if you're INEOS, if you tell Amorim not to play 3 at the back, then what does that mean? It means he was the wrong guy.
Correct.
You hired the wrong guy.
You made a mistake.
And ultimately we didn't. Amorim is the guy that you have $1.5 billion and you want to rebuild an entire new team, and he sits there and you buy every single player he wants, and then you play that way over time, and he would do it. To not have the money and hire this guy, and then tell him, actually, we don't have the money. We're not going to be able to buy anyone in January. You got to play 4 at the back. You shouldn't have hired him.
Right.
You should not have hired him.
Too late.
That's the whole point.
Too late.
And, could he be more flexible? By the way, the most insane thing that you've never heard I've been a football fan for 30 years, sir. Oh, I'm going to change formation because of AFCON. That came straight up from INEOS. They pushed
He
that
said it, but
narrative.
he said it.
They pushed that narrative.
Didn't even do it.
And then he did it.
Kind of.
For a half or 60 minutes against Newcastle, and it worked. And the minute it worked, he lost credibility with the locker room. He loses credibility, and INEOS can't make him do that. And so, regardless, they're screwed. They've screwed it. Now, let's put our big boy pants on. Big boy pants. I'm an owner. You hire a guy 3-4-3. You play it for a year. It looks like shit.
Which it has.
It doesn't work.
Does not work.
Hey, guys, can you check back there? Do we have like $1 billion to buy a whole new team?
Nope,
oh, wait, we don't?
Nope, we're broke.
All right. Sorry. Thanks for coming out. You really tried to jazz the 3 at the back. We're good. You're fired. And then bring someone else. That's it. That's it. You don't ask the 3 at the back guy, who that's all he does, to change it. You literally say, hey, thanks.
Remember, they're broke.
It's not going to work
They
here.
don't want to pay him out.
There's a lot of reasons why it's not going to work here. Like, we don't have the money. Maybe England's too big of a step from you from Portugal. There's a lot of reasons why it's not going to work out. But thanks for coming out. We appreciate it. You don't ask him to change. That's the fucking mistake. That's what and it all starts with Ashworth. It goes all the way back to Dan Ashworth, who said, hey, man, you want to hire Amorim? We don't have the team. Where's the team for him to play this way? We don't have it. It's going to cost this much. Therefore, we should go with something boring until we can get the money or get the players to play this way. And if you don't have either, it was doomed from the start. And now INEOS is in damage control, and the damage control has blown up right in their face, which shows that Ruben Amorim, they don't have the money to back him, or they don't trust him to back him, and they're falling out live. And it's a fight between Wilcox and Amorim, and I have a feeling that Sir Jim might just get rid of them all. Well, he has a lot to blame. He's
probably numero uno in terms of most culpable is Sir Jim. But this is all decisions being made by the pocketbook first and foremost. They didn't want to fire Erik ten Hag because they didn't want to pay him out and buy a new guy. They didn't want to fire him now, Amorim that is, because they didn't want to pay him out and then pay to bring in a new guy.
It's cheaper to fire him now, but they also don't want to take the L. They don't want to.
Well, they don't take the L, but also you do have to pay him out, and then you have to pay a new manager and his whole crew. And I don't think they want to do that. Same reason they don't want to spend in January. We barely spent last January. Heaven and Dogu, they were both project players that have actually started to come good, but they weren't even the number one need. We needed attackers last January, and they didn't dip in. So at the end of the day, the whole thing's a mess.
We need a midfielder.
We don't have enough money. We need midfielders.
Regardless
we need CDM,
of Amorim or the next
we need
manager.
a number 9. We need a lot of people in this squad, and everything's a mess. press. You have a manager fighting with the press. You have a front office that looks dysfunctional. You have players who don't know where their future lies. You have we're not even talking about Kobe Mainu who's being like, I want out because this whole thing's an SS, shit show. And it's a disaster class. And I'm telling you, the last thing you ever need is a manager just 40-year-old manager defiant with the press saying I was brought to be a manager, not a head coach, even though we were told actually something differently. When he was signed,
coach.
He's supposed to be just the guy running the team.
By the way, why a year now does he say that? That makes zero sense. Amram's being an idiot.
He is.
And
he's a hothead.
INEOS is by far, we said it. When Amram was appointed, we said it. And Ashworth getting fired is all you need to know. The only guy that Sir Jim was happy to send packing was Dan Ashworth, the guy with the best CV, including Amram, including Wilcox, and including Barada.
Correct.
Because he had actually done it across multiple teams and taken them and made money off of signings and brought them, the whole sporting side of the business, brought it to a modern standard and succeeded. Dan Ashworth did it all, hiring managers, buying players, and Sir Jim fired him and backed Barada and Ruben Amorim and then made Wilcox, who has zero experience being a director of football for a major club, the director of football at Manchester United, who is now fighting with Ruben Amorim openly in the press. And this is only going to lead to one thing, which is Ruben Amorim
He'll get fired.
sacked. Because ultimately the question for Ruben Amorim is back him or sack him, sir. And we will talk about that and the reasons. But I thought it was interesting. We should probably play a clip from when Amorim was announced at being hired. What was ARD's initial reaction, gut reaction to Amorim being appointed? Was it, we over the moon? Were we Muppets? Or are we pretty concerned a young man with this club at this stage might not turn out well?
This Ruben Amorim, INEOS to me made an error with Ten Hag, not sacking him after the final or even sacking him before the final, FA Cup final. And then now they're going with a young, hungry guy. Problem with that is you can't give a young, hungry guy a mess of a team, low in morale. That's a team you give to a Tommy T. You give it to him for 18 months, 24 months. He's going to come in, hard-nosed bastard. He's going to get the best out of him. Then after you rebuild the whole team and it's starting to fly, you hand the keys over to maybe the next Ten Hag or a younger manager like Ruben. I feel like we're kind of putting the cart before the horse. So I have some worries about how dysfunctional this locker room is. And I feel like you need that Roy Keane, Tommy T, mean mugging to get him in line, weed out the weak, maybe eat some crow. But I just feel like this could be a little too early for a young manager. This is such a double black diamond that is Manchester United, and we're just not in good shape.
No, I mean, your fears are valid. We've been doing this pod for 7 years, and we've seen a lot of managers, and we've had a lot of hope and promise around them, right? They've been recruited for the right reason. They had success in other leagues. They come to England, but this is, like you said, this is like a double black diamond punt, Hail Mary-esque. It could work out, but he's coming in with a lot of players, some big names who've played for a lot of different managers, and, can he get them motivated? Is he going to be able to kind of relate to them and get them up for it? Can he take what he has available and make something of it? Like you said, it'd be much better if he had the summer. He could have put his imprint on the squad. It would have just felt like a real restart. Now we're doing a restart mid-season. We've got a fucking Leicester in 2 days. It's right around the corner, and that's not where you want to be. Even if you had done this in international break, we would have had a little bit more time to kind of take a breath before we get right back down to the gridiron. The fact we're going back down to EFL, root interim, we're trying to bring in the new guy. It's that's not where you want to be. So INEOS, I think they'll get there, but they are definitely making some kind of tactical errors around the timing of when they do things.
Look, great points all around. I think this was too. It's too much for
younger
him.
Men. We were younger men. We looked like we hadn't gone through that Europa League final yet. That took years off my life. Years.
No, but when you talk about Ruben Amorim, and it was you said it. It was a Hail Mary.
It was.
It was a high risk, high reward appointment. And I said, hey,
how'd last season go?
Why are we bringing in a manager who wants to play a whole different system? We barely have a team to play the existing way we've been trying to play for the last 20 years. Right. And it's you can't do that many revisions to the game plan. INEOS try to do it Hail Mary style, and I think it's blowing up in our face. Look, another point. we were discussing earlier, when you're going to be Amorim in the press and you're going to smash the table, and you're basically saying back me or sack me. Like, that's kind of what he's calling out to somebody who's listening there.
Somebody.
It has to be Jim.
Yeah.
It has to be Jim, because the day-to-day with Wilcox and Barada is not going well. They're fighting.
Right.
So the way he's shouting in the press is basically like either he wants to be fired or he's calling out for some funding. Usually when billionaires get called out, they don't like it. If you're at a job and you want to walk into your boss's office and slam the table and say, hey, this is it, give me a raise or give me a ton of resources, you need leverage. And I think Amorim is bold. He's got some gumption, but he's putting a 38% win rate on the table and saying, give me that money or else. And I just, where's the leverage for Ruben Amorim? We have the chart here. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the steady decline of the win rate over time. I think match 46 was the Europa League final. It's been headed down ever since. There's no upturn. This is win rate by match. It's like a dead man walking here. The results are not that great. Off the pitch, it's blowing up. And how much can INEOS handle? They've been pretty gutless when it comes to making the proper changes. And when you got someone calling you out in the press, usually that's it. I have a feeling they're going to try to placate the guy somehow.
I think so too. Whether that's red meat in the form of signings, then they give him some throwaway wing back in January. They sign another attacker. They push out Kobe. It doesn't seem like he rates Kobe. That seems like a club decision. They'd like to keep him around for obvious reasons. I think most fans would agree with that as well. But like, you're not even on Maresca, who just got sacked by Chelsea, who was unpopular with large pockets of the fan base, but he had the Club World Cup win. He had the Conference League win, and he had a lot more to hang his hat on. He certainly did have a 38.7% win rate heading into the game. So it's a total mess. We're not as ruthless of a club, and we haven't been as Chelsea. Chelsea would just like bang, back of the head, throw it out a window, you're gone. We don't do that. We like to, hey, let's keep things copacetic. Let's keep things cool. But at a certain point, you have to know when to cut your losses. This manager is now doing things even beyond what we can argue against on the pitch by fighting with players, calling out youngsters. We didn't even talk about that. He called out a bunch of youngsters in the last 4 weeks. That was a bad look. Doing this where he like stormed out. I mean, Jose Mourinho did stuff like that. You can't have it. He doesn't have the credibility to stand behind it. There's no reason to be in a position like, why would we back him? Also, the signings we made have been agnostic to the system. They would work in any system. They're not buying wing backs. They're buying players that will play in any formation. And I think they've been good players, especially the last window, but they're not signing wing backs. We have still not signed a wing back. So I think it's pretty clear that it ain't going to back him, but I'm not sure they're ready to sack him.
No, that's a great point. But my one of the stats here going with the win rate is no permanent manager of Manchester United has lasted more than 18 months with a lower than 40% win rate since World War II.
Since World War II.
Since World War II.
They used to last longer back in the day.
So if the idea of like Amorim needs time, like 38%, and this is all comps. You look at the league, it's absolutely dire results. And the one thing I could handle is I could handle a year of, hey, we tried it and then now we're trying something else. That would be perfectly reasonable to be like, hey, it was a year, write it off. We tried the three at the back. We got to make a change because we don't have the players. Me and the front office have talked about it. We don't have the budget to get these guys, we don't have the budget to get the guys I need now. So we got to change it. I'm going to go to the back four.
Which he did say, right, like a month ago, and then change.
But he won't do it.
He won't do it.
And ultimately, Manchester United, if you're the head coach or the manager of Manchester United, it's about you have to be a steward of the club. And how you represent the club is really important because when things are swirling all around you, you can't be shouting Gary Neville's name in a press conference, slamming the table, and walking out.
That's bad.
Like, it's not a good look. So you need somebody who's cool under fire. For me, INEOS messed up big time. They've bottled all the big calls, especially the whole Barada Amorim appointment, because what we needed always, and INEOS has messed up in so many things, but the way it should have gone was INEOS can see the financials. They know exactly how this is going to go. If we don't make Champions League, which the Europa League, ultimately the final, which Amorim lost, if he if he won that final, he'd have money to be backed, for the record. He came in, how many points off top 4? 3 or 4. If he had gotten top 4, he'd have money to be back. There's a lot of money that he could have earned the club, and he performed pretty poorly. But what INEOS needed to do is they needed a yes man who would not do this in the press, who would basically eat crow, stop the bleeding, and have INEOS communicate to the fans, hey, this is a rebuild. We need 3 seasons to slowly turn over the squad, improve, get younger, and then challenge for European football. And they wanted the young, sexy thing. They wanted the quick fix.
Hail Mary.
They wanted the Hail Mary. And when it doesn't work, what do you got? Nothing. And ultimately, what we probably still need is exactly that. We need a yes man, company man head coach, let a world-class director of football, which is not Wilcox, do the deals, structure the club, and build it over 3 years. Because this whole quick hit, Eric Ten Hag, $600 million, Ruben Amorim, it's already 220. It could go to 500. You don't need that anymore. We need boring head coaches, and we need serious front office operations that are aligned, and none of what we're seeing right now. And INEOS needs to admit it sooner rather than later. They made a mistake, and they need to change it. Probably in the front office, because whoever made him the appointment is not the guy to listen to. Now, unfortunately, you should have listened to Dan Ashworth, and he's already gone. So that's really where we're at. INEOS bottled it. They're no better than the Glazers, and their entire footballing operations aligns with Nice and the bad bicycle team that they own. Like, that's basically it, and they are who we thought they were.
The thing is, there's nothing like 13 months of the Ruben Amorim project to make you be like a lot more hot on Gareth Southgate. I tell you what, if you'd asked me last November, I didn't want Gareth Southgate, but now it's like, hey, you probably do need a plain vanilla, someone who's not gonna make waves. They're not gonna rock the boat. They're gonna say what you gotta say. You certainly would not have any kind of controversy as it relates to the press. Also, the press would give him a lot of latitude because they love Gareth Southgate and what he did for England. This is not what you need. At the same time, if you looked at the financials, if you looked at Manchester United's financials when INEOS came in on day one, it was a mess. We had all the debt from the takeover. We had all this, like, the transfers payable. We had $1 billion in debt. You needed a new stadium. And Jim Ratcliffe just didn't have the dough to put into this club to actually turn the club over. So we had a limited amount of time. They had to go high risk, high reward, which is how they went, hey, we're going to win Project 2028. We're going to win.
No, they could have
by
gone
2028. It would have taken an extra 3, 4, 5 years reasonably. And they think we're going to win in 2 years. Are you crazy? We're not going to win nothing in 2 years. So I just don't think they have the cash to make this work. That's why they went for like the Hail Mary approach. Let's bring on this high flyer.
No, sir.
It's totally failed.
No, because they kept Ten Hag. They didn't sack him in the summer. Then they appointed Amorim. Then he did horrible. Then they backed him. They backed Ten Hag. After they watched it for 6 months, they backed it. That's $200 million.
Sir Jim's making the calls.
They cut
He's
the only checks they had into these guys that don't deserve it. Ten Hag didn't deserve the $200 million. And after that Europa League final, I'm sorry, Ruben Amorim, what are we seeing other than that Europa League final against Wolves, against Bournemouth, against Everton with 10 men, against, what do we see today against Leeds? It's the same Europa League final. That's it. That's playing shit against shit teams. That's all we're getting. There's nothing else there. And ultimately, look at this chart. It's a slow death. How long are you going to let it go? INEOS deserves all the blame.
They're going to let it run for a while. We're
not siding with Ashworth is criminal. We knew it. That day was heavy day. Go back and listen to the pod.
15 months ago.
When he got fired, you're like, uh-oh, it's Glazers 2.0. It's Glazers 2.0 because they're just going to be involved and they're going to meddle and Ratcliffe's just going to get involved. He's going to pick the signings like Vavell, like Shesko. Is that Shesko and get rid of Hoylett? We need 2 strikers, dude. It's the same old playbook that the Glazers ran, which is fast fix, red meat, splash the cash with no freaking plan. And you know how we have no plan? Is because we hired a guy who plays 3 at the back. We don't have the players or the money to get there, and we tell him to play 4 at the back. How does that make any sense? That's crazy. It's criminal. Arrest them. Destroying this club.
And they don't want to fire him. That's why they don't want to pay
out,
for it.
Glazers out. I'm sick of it. This club has been ruined into the ground. And I get it. Amorim's a good coach, but he's got a dose of man.
Is he a good coach? Who says he's a good coach?
Look,
he was a good coach for Portugal.
He's getting that. Who could succeed here? Under
nobody
INEOS,
has.
like, he's getting a heavy dose of Manchester United right now, which is like, we'll give you this, take it away, lie to you. Like, I think he's getting a pretty raw deal, and he's acting like it. Now, I think he's a maniac and an egomaniac, and he's fighting ghosts. Yes, but like, I think that's probably why you don't hire him. I think you hire a yes man who just eats shit in the press and says on to Cincinnati, no matter how bad the football is, and covers for the front office. Like, I think you got to think this club has to be sold. And Amorim could do well at United if he had £1.5 billion. You know what I'm saying? Like, we would do well.
Yeah, some sovereign.
So in his defense, I do think that, but we don't have the money.
But no
so
manager.
Like, if INEOS, if their best idea is have Amorim play a back four, like, God, we're screwed. We are screwed.
We are screwed.
And they're not thinking get a manager in who can play that way.
They don't want to spend the money. They don't want to spend the money.
They're thinking get this guy who's
cheap and good.
Get this guy. By the way, how did he react to it? He starts yelling.
Freaked out.
Didn't go well. Combo didn't go well.
How'd it go? Hey, babe. Hey, honey. I want to start a throuple. How'd that go? Not great. I want to bring it.
Hey. They call him Amy.
Hey, baby.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, just want to say it's been like 15 months.
It's pretty bad. I don't know if you noticed. We're not great.
Results aren't.
Not great.
Results aren't good.
Let's not talk about Bilbao.
Would you mind playing the back? What are you? Like, he probably he's probably freaking out.
Too close, man.
He can't handle it, man. And I don't think many people could. But if
we should have known. I hate to say it. I do not agree that they're as bad as the Glazers, but they are bad. And the thing is, they are bad.
Just as bad. They're making the same mistakes.
They're their own kind of bad. Hold on, let me just get this point out.
Glazers didn't fire Dan Ashworth.
They didn't hire Dan Ashworth. That was another thing they didn't do. They didn't hire anybody smart.
Yeah, they didn't spend the money to hire him and then fire him.
Yeah, that's also a bad mistake.
Arguably dumber than not.
They hired everybody. They hired was a dope. The thing that we should have known is look at Nice. Look at INEOS cycling. It's like prior performance indicates future results. It's like a guy that doesn't know what he's doing in sporting bought this for glamour. He thought it would be easy. It's not easy. The league has never been more competitive. Manchester United is in debt. We have holes in the squad. It's a mess. The stadium is a disaster, which makes me sad as a lifelong Manchester United fan who cares way too much about this club. And right now, they don't want to sack him because they don't want to pay the money. And they don't want to. I think it's less about the L. They don't care about L's.
No, they're trying to
they
get
don't want
to the
cheap. They want to do cheap.
The plan was 100%. The plan is give him to the end of the year. If he gets European football, we'll keep him.
Right, yeah.
If he doesn't, we'll get rid of him. But in the middle of it, they have to deal with this maniac of a manager.
He's a maniac. He's a lunatic.
Like,
He's
it's
a
clearly
lunatic.
just like losing it. And like they're like, Jesus, can someone get this guy to calm down so we can just get to the end of the season, probably not finish in Europe, and then sack him?
Right.
But Amorim's turning it up and making it untenable to keep him, which is a strategy in and of itself.
The Portuguese way.
Which is a whole other thing. And it's the results are not even that bad. Like they are not good. But like if he just towed the line, he would not be like on the block, and he's talking his way onto the block.
Correct.
Even though the results are shit. Fans at Manchester United are loyal. We don't want to fire their manager. It's probably a weakness that we have is just irrationally backing bad managers, which fine, give him to the end of the year. I agree. You don't need to fire him unless he just can't shut up at these press conferences, which is ultimately what's happening, sir. We can't shut up about this manager. And that tells you all you need to know, which is that Manchester United are in a bad way, and we are going to be in a bad way for a long time. Thinking about winning the title.
2028. More like we're 13 years in the darkness.
No, 2030. Not even.
No. We're in year 13 today. It's 2026.
I thought
20 years.
I thought we'd be in a race by 28. In a race, because you got to figure.
The only way that
you got to make a right call sometime. You got to.
The only way that happens, UAE
spending
minority investment. We're cleaning up the debt. We're building a new stadium. Ratcliffe takes a step back. That's the only way it happens.
All right. Speaking of spending our way out of it, Sky Sports breaking news about Baleba. And by the way, we don't want anyone in January, so not the best update. But here we are. Sky Sports saying Baleba is available, but Sir Jim is in.
Let's start, though, with some breaking news concerning Manchester United and their search for a central midfielder. Let's come to you first, Mark. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, when you talk about Manchester United and transfers, it's always significant. There's always a lot of interest because it's one of the biggest clubs on the planet, and therefore the fans are desperate to know what they're going to do in January. We know that Ruben Amorim has been speaking today about potential incomings. And we've got a little bit of breaking news here on Sky Sports News with regards to what they're looking to do, not necessarily in January. However, they have explored the possibility of signing players in the winter window. They're also looking ahead to the summer as well, but they have explored conditions of a potential deal for a central midfielder, the Brighton man, Carlos Baleba. We know that they have an interest in the player. They have been linked with him in the past, and they have explored conditions of a deal in this window. Brighton's stance is, as it always is, Carlos Baleba is not for sale. He's someone that we rate very highly, and therefore we are not interested in selling him, particularly during January. He has a contract until 2028 with a year's option on Brighton Hove Albion's side, so he's got a long-term contract. So we know that any potential deal would be significant.
Well, you know, I think we were kind of having a little bit of laugh there. That is interesting news. We probably phoned up Brighton, and, you know, we phoned up Bournemouth. Hey, Semenyo. That's a player that's an A player. We know we want him, and nope. And then Baleba's an A player. We know we want him, and nope. And if we're not going to get A players that we know we want, then Amorim, you're getting not the B list. We're going A list only. And by A list, it'd be like, if they're available in the summer, we will do the deal. And they have to be available in January. For the record, it's insane because we should be doing something in the midfield or up front for Manchester United. We're just dying, and you can tell.
Do something somewhere. If Baleba, I get it. He's a long-term prospect. He's the player that we want. We wanted him last year. They dragged their feet. He's had a big drop-off in form, not nearly the player that he was, but he's young, and I think he would slot in very well with this Manchester United team playing next to Bruno Fernandes in a proper four at the back. But they don't want to do a deal right now because they probably don't want to sell him on the cheap because that's not the Brighton model. But at the same time, we need to do something. You need to get another number 9. We need somebody. Like, take the pressure off Benjamin Shesko. We're talking about Xerxy going to Roma. We're talking about all these moves that may happen.
Where's Wout Weghorst? Like, where's he?
I guess it's better to wait. It's better to wait on a Baleba than get an Amrabat. Like, get some throwaway player.
Conor Gallagher. Like, you know, that's
wages though. You can afford wages.
Here's the deal.
Get somebody.
INEOS is the problem. INEOS is the problem because if you have Amorim, you have to give him reinforcements now because
you're gonna freak out if you don't.
By the way, when we talked about the attack, and you listen to the podcast, when Amorim was appointed, we're like, who's going to score the goals? We didn't have strikers. It was Højlund and no one else.
How'd that go?
Then we bought the attackers, and then where's the midfield? And then we're going to wait a year. How many lost years are we like, we need center backs, and then we went out and just bought way too many. Then now we're like, so the strategy from a director of football perspective, that's why Ashworth is so critical because you just need bodies. You need young prospects. And Manchester United has to be thinking about like a whole roster and making investments and having a return on those investments. And we're still so far behind the 8 ball. You do feel for Amorim a little bit, but traditionally January signings don't make that much of an impact, and they're very opportunistic. So for anyone saying that like January is the time, it's not. You might get a youngster, you know, like a Sekou Kone or something like that, but that's really, I'm not like, you can't really pound the table. We're not in a title race. You know, INEOS just going to let them hang out there and probably make their decision easy. That's ultimately what they're doing, and Amorim probably knows that, which is why he's bugging out in the press. And so Baleba ain't coming.
No, not in January, and they're letting him hang himself. They're basically going to just like give him rope and be like, we ain't signing nobody. He's going to lose his mind in public. He's going to lose the goodwill of the fans because guess what? Fans don't like this. Fans don't like the manager fighting with the press for no reason.
Some like it.
I like low controversy. I want
some fans are like, he's calling him out, and he's
he
looks like a clown. You gotta have if you're gonna be a hero, you gotta have a higher than a 38% win rate, bro. Like, you can put me in that job. You know, at the end of the day, you got
4, 2, 3, 1.
You gotta win. Like, when did Manchester United not become about winning? Like, it's look at the team. Look at the teams we're
May
playing.
2013. When,
you cannot
Fergie
beat
retired.
those teams. You look at those results. You can't beat those teams. Like, if you're being honest. Just like Ole, it was over in the Europa League final. It was certain it was over in Grimsby Town. And we're just letting it.
That was worse.
It was over, like you and me know that if you had the real stones as an owner and you can't beat 17th place Tottenham for 150 million to the good when the pressure's on, and Tottenham had nobody, bro. They had nobody, and you looked at him on the touchline and he had no adjustment.
He
nothing.
played an extra defender through the whole game.
It was
the whole game.
It's the antithesis of United. You knew in that moment it should have been. He should have been gone. And then Grimsby Town with the magnets. That was it. That was it. Grimsby Town in the rain. That was it.
What are the fans
and
think?
INEOS is just INEOS is just letting it brew, bro. They're
Where's
like
the
letting it
magnet
brew. They're letting it brew. I'm sorry.
Jim
I don't
is
want that to
counting
be
his
the
money in
truth.
Monaco.
But it's almost like that game came too early. But it was a must-win game for a new manager. It was because the whole season in the league was written off. It was all in on that game, and Bruno didn't show up. I like Bruno; he's played well, but the manager had no adjustment against a poor Tottenham side with injuries, and that would have meant that game was too much too soon, and it went the worst it could have gone for United. And I feel like we've kind of never talked about it, but that game is a big deal.
The litmus test is
we just try to push it out of memory.
Eric Ten Hag wins that final, and that makes me sad.
He does.
Eric Ten Hag wins that final 9 out of 10 times.
Huh? Yeah,
exactly. That guy wins.
No, he does.
And like smooth operator Ruben Amorim,
because you know what,
who you want to have a beer with,
yep,
doesn't, because he's like too clever for his own good.
All right.
Fans,
how we doing?
Happy 2026.
At MA 13, new year, same United. Neither team were good, so draw feels fair. We are desperately missing Bruno, Mount, Afcon, lads. I think Cunha's trying to do too much with them out. Also, Shesko looked way out of sorts today. Jan transfers and rest of the season predictions. I don't think we're going to sign anyone. We might get some red meat to keep Amorim. INEOS has got the call that INEOS is going to make. Obviously, we're saying the big boy pants. You got to move on. Moving on mid-season, what's the upside? They're most likely going to try to placate him and give him something. Like this blow-off, I imagine, is either going to be like he's out tomorrow.
Right.
Or there's going to be a coming together, kumbaya, and like some basic midfielder signed during the window. Like that's, and I can't.
Or a striker, or like somebody, some red meat, some semblance of red meat.
Yes.
Problem is, INEOS don't do the clever transfers. They were like above the Calvert-Lewin transfer, who would be one of our top goal scorers this season because they don't want to get an old guy on a free, a Kamara. Any of these guys that are like, well, you don't need to get everybody at 60 million pounds for the best prospect in Acuna and Mbuma, whatever. They just. INEOS are bottlenecks, sir. They're not going to do nobody. And the thing is, it's all going to come to the head in January. Do they give him something?
No, it's how I think that M. Jesus has it right. He says, I'm guessing stopgap forward after fan pressure. Brighton knock United out of the FA Cup. We sleepwalk into 6. Amorim stays but gets sacked before Christmas 2026. I think it's probably
I think it's hard to sleepwalk to 6. I think everybody behind us is catching up. If you look, it's Titans. We're
close.
still there, but like all they need is a couple wins. And by the way, we're about to face a buzzsaw.
I do think we're going to get some juice as the players players come back from AFCON.
I'm missing Bruno. I mean, that's a big miss.
But we're still playing in hard mode with Amorim. So I don't give that. That's not credit to Amorim. It's more like, yeah, these players can get us out of a jam, or we can score more goals than we just like let in. So I still think I said 8th. Regardless if they back him or not, I just, you need to see things clicking. You got to see the system working. You got to see the players getting it. You got to see us beating some solid teams. We're on the slide right now. So it's hard for me to see where we can get Europe, but we should. We absolutely should. The Alex Davis 33, we're getting every sign it's time to move on. Poor performance, abysmal results, and press meltdowns from the manager. Sir Jim, bite the bullet. Ole till the end of the season is what the club needs.
Everything with that. Give me Gareth Southgate. I hate to say it, boring. Give me like vanilla yogurt.
Take Ole to the end of the season.
No, because then everybody would be like, oh, and then you give a 5-year deal. I've seen
they
that
would
move
not
before.
do that. They would not do that.
They would.
Second question: how annoying is it that the entirety of football media refers to everyone but Amorim as the board? Barada, Wilcox, Vivell are not board members. They are key staff members and shouldn't be grouped into a level of leadership that cannot be easily replaced. I totally agree. Barada, by the way, like Wilcox and Barada, they should not. If Amorim goes, they should go.
Remember the fight, the Wolves game. Remember the fight? They were fighting at halftime when we were tied 1-1. That's an undercurrent of what's going on right now. It's dysfunction, high levels of dysfunction.
Well, if you recall the split, Sir Jim, it was Ashworth wanted Southgate or Potter, and Barada and Wilcox wanted Amorim. primarily Barada, and they went with Amorim, and it has not worked out so far. So they should probably go. And then we will get Manchester United. I don't think the wheel is broken Game of Thrones talk until we have a director of football with ultimate power in seat at Manchester United.
And that'll never happen.
World class, not Wilcox.
Never happen under Jim.
Look at Wilcox's CV. Like, he did it for like a year at like some no-name club.
Southampton.
1 year. Like, he doesn't have the CV. You need someone who's done it for 20 years across multiple top European teams. You need him to come in. He hires the manager. He does everything. Until that happens, we're just going to be in this malaise. So
and that will never happen while Jim is here, because he cannot have the idea of
course.
him appointing somebody who
he
has more
already
power
showed
than he
us that
does.
He can't do that.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
he showed us he can't outsource that. He's
No.
too involved.
He's too involved.
So it's the owners have
Not
to
rich
go.
enough.
At Reds pilot, Shesko couldn't score in a brothel.
He'll
Fair
come good.
statement.
He'll come good.
I think Shesko is a next year type of guy, but it's not looking great. And I'm a big Shesko
Well, we're killing
guy.
him because you're putting too much pressure. It's like Hoyland all over again.
No, he should be better than he is.
He should.
He should.
But he's still showing promise.
Hoyland was never what Shesko was and has not scored those numbers. He is completely off the mark right now.
He should have scored today. Like, he had to
Yes,
score
100%.
today. He had to score.
At Fairway Freddy, that sensation, it's the ground shifting under this guy. Shame because he's likable. For an Amorim club is one of the few that if you don't win, you better entertain. The fans know the history and the ethos of this club. They are not fooled by words. Is Glasner next? If Amorim goes, is Glasner next?
No, I think they're going to go cheap and available. If they had to get Glasner, they'd have to pay at least £20 million to Palace. I know his contract is nearing an end, but they'd still demand top. He wouldn't leave mid-season.
He's a nut too. He's like fully.
No, exactly. He's a top manager.
We need
but he's going to
boring.
need
We
like
boring.
no. They're going to go Gareth Southgate. They're going to go yes man, and Glasner, who I'd want, is not a yes man, and that is not who they'll get. And I think we do need a yes man. I hate to say it.
At United scores 4-4-2 on to Burnley. This manager is too effing emotional. Today should have been straightforward. I'm officially Amorim out. With performances like that, pressers like that, you're going to get more of that. But if you like us, or the pod is done. You like the American Devils?
Done. Done.
I'm
Stick a fork
tired.
in us.
Like I
Stick a
said
fork
in
in
that
us.
video a year ago that we
Were you
played on the
tired
pod,
then?
I said, I am tired. I'm a tired fan. It's been too much of this BS. INEOS is Glazers 2.0. We need to break the wheel. Things got to change at United, and unfortunately, we need the Glazers to sell the club. We need them to sell
Correct.
the club,
Correct.
and we need a fresh new perspective at United. And unfortunately, like we probably should be just disconnecting a little bit here because this train's getting brutal. like to go from Ten Hag for 3 years to this, and like for the record, listen to Eric Ten Hag's pressers, not great. Go on YouTube, listen to that one of those. They're not that great either.
We've been in hell. We've been in hell. We're in hell, and I hate to say it. It's not. There's no way you can do some kind of minority deal to get us out of hell. It's like you got to do full buyout. You got to clear out the debt. Bring me that sweet, sweet sovereign money. It's only a matter of time.
U.S. Men's National Team World Cup. That's all we got. That's all we got.
That's all you got. Then you got nothing. You got nothing.
Like United, you're not getting. What are you getting out of United this
You're gonna
year?
wait. You're waiting until we get bought out. Come on, Jensen Huang, baby. You got $200 billion. Come buy us. All right, top downloads. Appreciate all the American Devils listening week in, week out. Don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube. We've got great benefits if you become a Patreon member. Come check it out. Keeps the pod going. It goes the extra mile. We need you. We need the support. We've been doing it. John and I have been in the minds of Moyer for almost 10 years. Almost 10 years. Next year will be 10 effing years. Unbelievable. Appreciate this guy next to me. Appreciate all the listeners. Here's our top 10 cities the last 7 days. Number 1, how you doing? How you doing? Los Angeles, California, Chicago, Illinois, Dublin, Ireland, Charlotte, North Carolina, Melbourne, Australia, Portland, Oregon, Dallas, Texas, Oslo, Norway, Orlando, Florida, and last but not least, New York, New York. Appreciate all the American Devils listening.
Sir, it's about how much you can get hit and keep moving.
That's it. That's
forward,
life.
baby. That's what
That's
it's
life.
about.
This
And
club
guess
ain't
what?
dead.
You know, there's a reason that we're from New Jersey, and we watch every game this team plays.
4:30
Every
a.m.,
game. Every
4:30,
game.
yeah,
Just,
yeah.
you know, oh, another shit game. Yeah. Let's go.
More.
Let's go. I'm also a New York Giants fan. You know, they just
Now they
watching
do.
those
Are they good?
games.
Are they
They're
good?
horrible.
Are they
You know,
good?
it's like, let's go. Keep going. Let's go. That's all you got. That's all you got. Let's go. So we've seen it all. We've won the lot, if you can believe it. We'll see you in the next one.